Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Ezer Mindset Podcast with your host. I am Ultimise Nicole, and I am so thrilled to have an opportunity to introduce you to an amazing woman that has gone through a lot of adversity in her life, and yet she has still dedicated her life to empowering women to be the best version of themselves, and learning how to navigate life softly and unapologetically with an authentic voice. Today, I am introducing you to a powerful CEO, ArLancia Williams. She is the owner and the principal broker of Platinum Trust Realty, and she is also the partner to Community Title of Crofton in Maryland. For years, she has, pushed Black women into, this idea of living a soft girl life, right? And a lot of us understand being an alpha woman and taking charge and really owning everything that we do. But what happens to our heart in that process? So I'm so thrilled to have you and welcome to the show. And yes, I would love to hear about your journey and share with us a little bit about who you are as a woman.
I'm gonna start with my childhood growing up. I am an only child. That's what I
Me
knew of
too.
myself, but I'm not really an only child. I found out later about some siblings that I had.
Mm.
So, growing up, I didn't grow up in a two-parent household. I grew up with my stepdad. My stepdad, gosh, my mom met him when I was 8 years old. Before my mom married my stepdad, I did not know of a father, what a father was, or even if I even had a father, because no one ever spoke of a father
Mm.
to me. Um, I also remember growing up that I didn't have any baby pictures around the house. And, especially like at my grandmother's house, my cousins, they had their baby pictures and their moms and the pictures. I'm like, where's my picture? In my head, I'm like, where's my picture? But my mom, she met a pilot named James Brown, not the singer, just his name was James Brown. He was from Sao Paulo, Brazil. He was a pilot, so I flew a lot. I got to travel when I was younger. The
Mm.
caveat to that, he was a little on the abusive side, really,
Mm.
really abusive. So I remember just thinking in my head that you know, maybe this is normal because growing up, we were taught what goes on in the house stays in the house. And, they would get mad if you try to tell someone. And sometimes if you tell someone that was actually going on in their house, so it was really no big deal. But I can remember him just being really abusive to me and my mom physically. Um,
Mm.
he was awful. He's dead now, but he was awful. And I remember telling my mom that when I got of age, I'm going to be leaving soon. But I was maybe 15, 16 years old.
Mm.
I'm going to make it quick. So one day I got on the school bus and no, before I got on the school bus, my mom and I, we actually walked to the corner store. My mom would play numbers and buy her cigarettes. So that was our time together when she got home from work. So when we went in the store, I saw a guy and he was with a young lady that rode my school bus. And he says to my mom, she looks just like her dad. And I'm
Mm.
like, I have a father. Like,
Mm.
what dad? So now I'm curious and I'm just trying to listen to their conversation. So I get back on the school bus and I tell the girl, her name's Mise. I wrote Mise a note, I heard your dad say he knew my dad. Please, if you could get this note to him and try to help me find my father because I'm being abused and I want to get out of the house.
Mm.
The very next day on the school bus, Mise pulls me to the side. She hands me a note with my father's number on there. And so I take a chance and I call him and his name is Andre Mordecai. And my name was Rivers, of course. It just wasn't matching up. But I took a chance and called him because I'm thinking anything is better than where I am right now. Like
Mm.
anything. So I took a chance. I called him because I'm a chance taker. That's how I got to where I am. I take chances when they feel good in my gut, right?
Yeah.
So I called him and he was talking and fussing and, I've been looking for you and your mother took you and I couldn't find you, and I'm like, it didn't really register what he was saying. I'm just like, I just need to get out of this house. Like, I can't do this anymore. So he told me to meet him at the school bus stop and don't bring no clothes and don't tell my mom. So I did just that, right? I met him at the school
Mhm.
bus and this guy pulls up in a burgundy Mercedes, and he gets
Mm.
out. He's the spitting image. I'm the spitting image of him, and I knew right then and there my heart dropped. I'm like, God, this is
Mm.
my father. And I got in a car with him. I never looked back. I never went back to my stepfather's home. I remember I called my mom, and I'm like, look, I found my father. I'm gonna stay here. You keep my clothes. You keep everything. Like, I'm going shopping, and so I'm finally happy. 2 weeks later, my mom joins us. So now I'm really happy.
Mm.
Like, my whole family's here. We're living in an apartment and I'm just happy. I'm going to school. I'm happy now because at first I was so miserable, like sad and miserable every day. And so now I'm finally happy. Fast forward 2 weeks, I come home and the apartment is completely empty. Clothes are scattered, maybe two or three things scattered on the floor. And I'm like, oh, we must be moving, right? I'm 16 years old. We must be moving. I stayed there. My parents didn't come home. I stayed
Mm.
there another night. I went to school. My parents didn't come home. And I'm afraid, to ask someone, have they seen my parents? Like,
Yeah.
they never came back. They never came back. So I went to school, not knowing if my parents were going to come back or not. I tried to pay the rent. Like, I didn't,
Wow.
have anywhere to go. And so this is what I did. And this is why I started living from day to day. And so I would just start planning out, you know, what I'm going to eat, what I'm going to do. I went and got me a job. I still went to school. I graduated, right? I was afraid, like, I could have went and been a prostitute, drug dealer,
So wait.
anything.
So wait.
I,
Let's go back. Let's go back. So you found your dad,
mm-hmm,
and you go to live with your dad, and then your mom joins you.
mm-hmm.
But then 2 weeks after that, they just
They left.
leave.
Yeah, they left me. They rolled out. They left me. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I'm afraid. Like, so, I started being timid and afraid to stay at home by myself because, I'm thinking someone's going to come in and get me. And so I
Yeah.
couldn't, my life immediately changed from, I telling my friends on the phone, what we're going to wear to school tomorrow versus I'm now at what am I going to eat? And now I
Right.
can't worry about what they're worrying about. Those are no longer my concerns.
Right.
So my friends, I just kind of fell back, and that's how I became a loner because I was afraid to tell them. They would ask if I can go out on the weekend. I would make up stories. Oh, I'm punished. Oh, I can't go. I got to do this. Actually, I could have done anything, and I didn't want to have company. I'm like, no, because somebody's going to tell. So I had to start figuring out, how I'm going to get through the next 2 years and graduate. And I made it. I became a shampoo girl, and it was literally day to day. And I realized, hey, I know how to do hair. I started doing hair, but I would never let them come to my house. I would go to their house.
Mm.
So it just taught me a lot of little survival skills. Okay.
Yeah.
Fast forward to that, I wound up meeting a guy, and I had three beautiful daughters. And I took care of my daughters. I did hair, and I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit about me. I was never afraid because
Mm.
I trust in God. Like, I was never afraid, like, that I'm going to be homeless. I just, at night, I wouldn't sleep. Hey, I'm going to do this. And actually, everything I set my mind out to do, I actually accomplished. And I
Mm.
wasn't even realizing it, that you can accomplish what you put your mind to. You just got to stick to the plan.
Right.
So, yep, my mom and dad, they left me. I didn't see my mom again until I had my third child. It was maybe 8 or 9 years later.
Wow.
They called me. My mom had gotten into some trouble, and I went and got her, and I took care of her, and I nursed her back to health because she had went really downhill. I nursed her back to health, and she got on her feet, and you know,
How so?
she,
Okay, so for one, you you literally got yourself through school after they left on your
hmm
own.
hmm
Like, I can't even imagine that experience. But then you find her, or that she reaches out to you after your third child was born, and you take
hmm
care of her. Can you share with us
I'm gonna
the
share.
mindset of
Yeah,
like how?
you be so when they left, when I got pregnant, I wanted my children to have a family and never go through what I went through because I didn't know my family. Like I was just like, oh my God. So their dad actually had a really nice family, and they're still close to that family. So I just wanted them to have what I didn't have. I was always in search of love and a family and just something, safe, just to be safe and in a safe space and holidays. And so I gave that to my children. So when my mom came back, that was my mindset. Like I didn't hold her accountable for anything. Um, I took her in and got her together, and I'll do it again, and for my father as well. So at um yeah, at 23, she came back into my life, and took a little while, but she got herself together. She went and she moved back to the family home. My grandmother passed, so she was next on the title. And so this is a part of my journey. So I'm gonna just skip fast forward. My mom got sick. She started having heart attacks because that life caught up with her, right?
Mhm,
When her life finally caught up with her, at in 2017, my mom had a major stroke and a heart attack, and I didn't know what a stroke looked like because I don't
mhm,
drink or smoke or do any of that stuff. No way. Like I just don't do
mhm,
it. My mom was a smoker, and whatever she was doing before she came back, I just think it caught up with her. She started having strokes, and I'm at the time of my life, my kids are just, turning 18, and I'm like, oh, finally, I raised my kids, everyone's in college, and now I can enjoy my life with my husband. And my mom turns and gets sick. And how can I put it? Once she got sick, my plans was not real estate. My plan was to enjoy my life now and
mhm.
just work and just do me and be with my husband and just relax. When my
Yeah.
my mother got sick, her
At
life
that time,
changed.
were you in corporate? Were
I
you still in?
was. I
Okay.
was. I was at a corporate job that was not family friendly. FMLA had ran out. She couldn't feed herself. She couldn't talk. She couldn't walk. So I'm like, okay, I'm sitting at her bedside. Like, I had to pick something that was going to keep up with my lifestyle. So I'm like, okay,
Mm,
I'll just do real estate. Real estate,
mm,
I took my test at her bedside. It took me 2 weeks online because I was good at memorizing. So I would just memorize the answer. I'm like, I'll get it after I get my license. It'll come to me. So I got
right.
my license because I thought I wasn't going to be able to go back to work, which I really wasn't. Um, So I'm thinking my mom's gonna bounce back and recover, and she didn't. Around the 6th month, notices started coming in about her house is gonna foreclose, and my husband was already an investor, not an agent, but an investor. He already had about 10 apartment buildings, so I
Mm,
never saw me becoming a landlord, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to buy my mother's house. I'm gonna have to
mhm,
fix my mother's house up because when she gets better, I'm gonna move her back in there. So I'm gonna surprise her. So I wound up, that was my first investment property. I bought my mom's house, right? And fixed it up. Her and her sister and her brother, I felt like I was a little angry because I felt like, it was their job to keep the house up because their mother left it to them. Like it skipped a whole generation because they weren't responsible financially. And so I took it
mhm,
on and I'm like, okay, I'll just fix up the house and move them back in. So that was my first investment property there. And I did. I fixed it up, and learning about generational wealth. You can hear it and someone can tell you what it is, but then you
Right.
experience it yourself. And I began to realize my family on my mother's side, they don't understand, they never had been responsible for themselves. And so now
Right.
I have to be careful because they're like, they want their name on the house. They want to be a part of stuff. And I'm like, I can't do that because now I
Mm.
have to build generational wealth. Generational wealth goes down to the next
Right.
generation that under you. It doesn't go out to the side and up because if something happens to me, my cousin will leave it to her kids after all the wealth, that
Yes.
we've done built.
Yes.
So yeah, and so they don't understand as much as you try to explain it, as much as you try to do for. I'm just going rambling on and on, but I
No,
know
no, no, no. You are
I'm
good.
okay.
You are good. Cause like I'm thinking, I'm sure, cause in the midst of that, we're not gonna slide past the fact that you bought your mother's house. We're not gonna slide past that.
Yeah,
You bought your mother's house.
bought it,
And I'm
and
sure they saw that,
yeah.
right? And I'm sure they were like, oh, okay, you good. How did you handle family in the midst of all of this? Like, how did
Well,
you ensure?
well, at first, my family, I started making a lot of money at 16. And when I was 16, I was making almost 2,000 a week. And nobody really knew how much money
Doing hair?
I was doing hair. They called me young blood. I was very good at doing hair. And they let me work in a hair salon and I was just killing it. And I'm like, shit, I'm pay the rent. So I was already used to money. And the era that I grew up in, back in the 90s, the guys were doing stuff they didn't have no business. I was
Right.
already, my dad was one of those people, a notorious, person. And so I was already used to having money, but like my family really, as much as they don't know how much money actually we have right now. And
Mm.
they sometimes they make sometimes I feel like they take advantage, like, oh, she'll pay it. This is due. She'll pay it. And sometimes I'm just like, it's a lot. It's just a lot. It's a lot. I feel like all the nights and that I, set up with my little paper and pencil, which I have now. I do it every day, all day. Write my bills out and my plans. People and family. Oh, you're burning the candle at both ends. You're gonna wear yourself out. And then, as I started to grow, why do you need two cars? Cause then why do you need three cars? Then why do you need another house? Then why do you
Because you
need
want to.
this? And I'm just like, yeah, pretty much, like, cause I want to. And my mom lives with me now, and she's sick,
Mm.
and I don't think anyone knows how the mortgages are getting paid. I'm just like, you're okay, just get better. Well, I gotta hit the number. I'm like, no, I'm okay. You just do you.
Mm.
I go to the grocery store sometimes, and whoever's in front of me is gonna get blessed because whoever's in front of me, I pay their bill. And the other
Mm.
day, it was an older lady in front of me, I guess for the 4th of July, and they were cooking out or whatever. And she was older. She was just digging in her purse. And I was talking to her the whole time, but I already told the person, just put on my tab, this is what we
Mm.
doing for the day. You're good. Unless I'm in the self-pay line. And I like to do my good deed for the day. And sometimes family and friends, it's not good to do business with them. I've learned
Mhm.
my lesson. I've learned my lesson with family and friends. Like they'll, sometimes they want to. I don't mind doing their hair for free, but when it comes to living in an apartment or my car broke and I use a car, I'm like, nope, I can't do it. Like I just really can't. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I like helping my daughters, and I wish they would help and find themselves. Do something. Do something. I
How did
think
you like in terms of your how you handle money and how you have kind of created this foundation for you and your family? What are some of the techniques that you use to build, the financial wealth and to make the money? Like what so for those listening, she literally just showed a notepad. What do you write on that notepad every day?
every day. Um, I write what I'm going to do today. And I used to overput what I'm going to do on the paper, and I would beat myself up. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. Even the little things that don't cost money are important to me, whether it says call my mom, call my dad, make sure I
Yeah.
do this. And then in between, I have my bills and just make sure that my business is still building. I mean, I'm no rocket scientist, but when you have more going out than you do coming in, that's a fast way to go broke. So I would make right now, I would say after my husband had 10 properties, I wanted him to start getting multi units. Like
Yeah.
he had 4 units, 4 units, 4 units, which is good, which is fine. He was like, no, we're comfortable. I'm like, we're not comfortable. I'm not comfortable because I
Mm.
wanted to see how far we could go. And I'm like, no, we can do this. Let's see how far we can go. And I
Mm.
think at that time we may have had 40 tenants. Now
Wow.
we have about 460 tenants now, right? Listen,
Wow.
life is so good. It's stressful, but it's good because the tenants always call. We self manage, so we got tenants calling. In between, I got family calling. I try to manage their bills, my bills, and we have to take vacations. And then I have to tell my husband, we can't leave all of this to the kids. We got to spend some of the money now because real estate is going to be there. So those buildings are going to continue to generate money for them. We just got to show them how to run the business. And what happened, because we try to give them what we didn't have growing up,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I know what I didn't have growing up. So I'm I overdo everything. Like, no, I call my daughters the chocolate angels, not Charlie's Angels. Like, the angels can do no wrong. I don't want them to suffer. I don't want them to, you know, we
Wow.
didn't, I saw my parents struggle a little, but they never see us struggle at all. And they think they're supposed to drive 2 cars. And I'm like, how did, I wish we could have done that a little different. It's too late now. They're completely gone. But I try to do a good deed. And right now, I just want to teach people how to, and I'm not saying, I know I'm not doing it wrong, right? But it's probably
Right.
more than one way
It's
to skin a
working.
cat, more way to do it. But if anyone, needs my help, then I'm definitely here. Um, yeah, when I got my license, I never saw myself becoming an investor. I never saw myself purchasing my mom's house, but I had to learn real quick, right? Working with these
Yeah.
contractors, and people like, you gonna rent it out? I'm like, no, I'm gonna furnish it and move my mom and my aunt back in the house because that's what my grandmother wanted. I know that's what she wants, right? So here, you can have it. Like, I just feel like I have to take care of them. As far as my dad is concerned, I still talk to my dad. I haven't seen my dad since I was 16. Um, when I saw him those 2 weeks, I haven't seen him since. He has like a guilt trip. He doesn't know how much I have. I keep telling him, come on back. I got your house. You don't have to do anything.
Mm.
Oh, I don't deserve it. I'm like, yes, you do. You come on back. You made a mistake. Let's keep it moving, and that's it. That's it. Let's just keep it moving. Um,
I think it's so beautiful that of all the things that you've gone through, of all the things that you've experienced, you still have a heart of service and you still have a heart filled with love and grace toward the people that may have impacted that journey as a child,
mhm, mhm.
and how did you continue to maintain that throughout the years?
What, my heart?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like ensuring like you give
This what
love
I.
and
Yeah, this is me. This is my makeup. This is how I was born. I don't think money changed a person. I think money shows more of who you really are. I've always been this way. I think because I've been I don't know. I just was born this way. Like, I may fuss, but I'm not gonna do anything for real. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just care about people, even when people, burn you sometimes. I'm just, I just move a little different now. But yeah, yeah, I don't.
wow.
Life is unfair for some people. I just think I know everybody can't make it and won't make it. I'm just glad that I'm one of the ones God put his hands on. You know what I mean? It gets a little lonely because the more you have, it's like the less friends you have, the less,
Mm.
first of all, their concerns are not your concerns and vice versa. And you try to adjust when you go out to their life because you don't want to seem like you're too big now, but sometimes
Right.
you can't, you just don't mesh well anymore, like, especially like on vacations. And you
Mm,
offer, we've treated people on vacations just so we can have a good time because we don't want
right.
to, do some of the
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
And through that process of like building, because it sounds like you and your husband build a lot together. How have how have you two maintained building your relationship and the businesses simultaneously and it not impact you two as a couple?
I think because we're in the same field, he knows that I'm busy and I know that he's busy, and we work together and we built it
Mhm.
together. So no one's going to tear it down, not even us. And I feel like the work has meshed into the relationship because we'll talk all day like, what are you doing? I got an inspection. Or what you doing? Okay, I'm doing an interview, I got to close in a day. And I think if anybody else, if I was with anybody else, they wouldn't understand my schedule, what I'm
Mm,
doing, why stuff costs. I know when he says, I know, like, even when we're out on vacation and the phones won't stop ringing because it's tenants, because it's this. Sometimes cars run into the building or people, you know, police want to pull a camera because of an incident that happened. Like, I already know how it goes.
yeah.
It's part of the, hey, it's just part of our life right now. So,
Wow.
my husband
Wow.
go out with Crocs on every day. He wear
Yeah.
Crocs and a t-shirt every day. And I'm just sitting there laughing, like, it, you know, everything is like, now I feel I'm like, I want to wear Crocs every day and just go out. And at first
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I want to wear these red bottoms, I want to do this. And now I'm like, I'm just gonna put my flats on and going out the door. And when I need to show up, I'll show up. But until
Yeah.
then, I just love I love what I do. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I got so
Wow.
many stories in real estate. I get to help everyone else achieve their goals, and you know, I love it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
I love it.
and to think it's something that you kind of fell into because
Hmm.
it was, you needed to keep the income flowing and going when your mom was sick. And now, years later, it's an empire. It sounds like you guys have really built something absolutely beautiful
It
and
is.
and and
It
and
is.
strong. Yes,
We
yes.
look,
I
we
love
look
that.
at it sometimes, and we're just like, my husband will look at me like, "Is this real?" I'm like, "Yeah." He was like, "Damn." We never. Well, I never saw this coming. I saw just
Yeah.
being comfortable, and I'm like, "Man, we past comfortable right now." And it,
Mhm.
they say it's lonely at the top, but you got a hell of a view. But I
Mm,
feel like,
mm.
yeah, that's the truth.
If there's somebody listening and they too are in the process of building and they are in the process of just figuring out, they're trying to figure stuff out, what what would you tell them? Like, what tip or what advice would you give them as they're in their growing and building phases? Because I know while you're growing and building, you can't see where you're going, right? You just kind of like how you mentioned, you just focus on that day to day because that's all you have.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, what would you tell them in their process, in their journey?
I would say a lot of people give up when they feel like they failed at something, right?
Mm,
But I would say don't give up, because just like riding a bike, you're not gonna know how to ride a bike unless you fall a couple of times. Then you can pop those wheelies and do whatever. Like, you have to. Failure is a part of success, and don't get discouraged. You got to keep going. You know where you're going. You can see where you're going. Put those blinders on and keep it moving. Like, I always say that God don't move obstacles for those He gave the ability to climb. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to have it. It means they're not supposed to be in your way. So just go and get it. If that's what you
mm.
want, it's obtainable. You can get it.
I
Yeah,
love
you
that.
you in your own way.
I love that. I love it. And how long have you and your husband been married?
16 years.
16 years.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
How has your relationship with him impacted your journey as a woman?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be so honest right now, like I always am. My husband, sometimes he he feels like as he's the man of the house, what he's doing is the only thing that's important. And since I'm making so much money, my baby can go open a shop or open a broker, do whatever she want to do, and it's okay. Like he rarely, how can I say? Because I try to run my business on my own. Like I don't want any financial help. Like we have closings, we have deals, but sometimes I'll tell him, "Hey, this is what I did today, and this is, I got a award doing this." But if my brokerage closed and my salon closed, he know we're living off of the real estate that he's
Mm,
rolling with, the tenants and stuff. This is something extra, but this is everything to me. So he
yeah.
doesn't really, he doesn't. He's the type that'll give you the money, but when you get home, he don't want to see what you bought. He don't, you know what I'm
Mm,
saying? So
mhm.
he'll give you support mentally, but he's not gonna walk into my office. How did the office go
How's it
today? He's
going?
not gonna do
Mhm,
all of that, because sometimes
mhm,
he feel like I got it. You know what I
mhm,
mean? And I do. I love what I do.
mm,
I have about 9 agents here, and we're like family. And yeah, that's how. And I'm okay with it. I used to be like, "Oh, you talk about what?" And I'm just like, "You know what? I don't really need that."
mm,
Um,
mhm.
because he knows, like, he'll listen if I tell him, but yeah, we're
That
okay.
reminds me
Yeah.
of that reminds me of Sarah Jakes Roberts and her husband, because
Mhm.
she did an interview recently with Kevin on Stage with her husband, and they talked about like the dynamic of working together and like being married, and it they're very similar in that aspect. So like, you know, what Sarah has going on with Women Evolve, he's not in that unless she be like, "Hey, I need help with this." And even when she say, "I need
Mhm.
help with this," he do exactly what she asked.
Yeah.
And
He
and like,
knows.
yeah, because it's his wife's business, it's not his business. And I
Yeah.
think that's beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah. We're meeting today to get our nails done at 6:30. Like when we meet up, we'll meet up after the day and we'll do
Mm,
things together. And then in the morning, we're back up and out the door. I just think if someone else was in another field, they probably would
mhm.
not understand clients calling me at 10 o'clock and, or an agent calling me for help first thing in the
Yep.
morning and, open houses. It's just a busy, busy life. And I'm just glad that we understand what it takes. And we both love what
Yes,
we do too. Yeah.
yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
And I have a theory. So my theory, because I was once married and now I'm divorced. My ex-husband actually encouraged me to start my business.
Mhm.
And so I did. He was like, instead of asking for another seat at a table that wasn't even created for you in the first place, build what you have. So I
Mhm.
did. And that was like, honestly, that was the best advice that he could have given me. But in that process, I feel like the business became competition in some ways. And I realized that when you are an entrepreneur, you cannot shut it off. Like you can't. Even people think, "Oh, I'm going on vacation and I'm gonna relax," but like as an entrepreneur, going on vacation is where most likely you get a lot of those ideas rolling, because you don't have the day to day in the
Yeah.
way, you know? And I, my theory is that I feel like if you are an entrepreneur and you are dating or you are involved with someone, um, they should either be an entrepreneur as well, or they got to have an entrepreneurial mindset or aspire to be an entrepreneur or something, because
Yeah.
they're, yeah, go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Financially, you two are going to clash with your decisions.
Yes.
You know, your business will go under messing with someone with the opposite spirit of yours that you have. It's just not going to work. it's funny because we just went on vacation. We went to the Essence Fest, and
Mm. Mm.
his phone rang. I was there meeting people. I met up with Chanel Scott, and
Yep.
I met her, and we went out to eat. And then I met with Egypt the next day. Like, I was down there making my connections and working. And I think if I was with another man, they would have been, because I left him in the hotel sleep. I'm like, nah, nah. Then I called him, like, want to come eat? We about to go eat. We about to go eat lunch or dinner, or whatever. But we had a good time. His phone was ringing, and I was working and moving. But I loved it. Yeah, I think.
Yes, yes. And I've realized that, and now, as I'm dating and, dating and things, the moment someone says something about, so when do you have time to,
Mm-hmm.
that's like the indicator. I'll be like, "Ooh, you don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it." And
Yeah.
it's just something that I've observed. I don't think that, it's nothing wrong with someone having a 9 to 5 job. I'm not saying that, everybody has to be an entrepreneur. That's not what I'm saying.
Everybody not meant to be an entrepreneur.
That part, that
Can't.
part. Yes, that part. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying, and I'm also not saying it can't be done. It just makes it extremely difficult to maintain a relationship when the person doesn't understand that if you are building something, and once it's built, you still got to maintain it until you sell it, if you decide to sell it,
You never stop building.
Yeah, you're never going to stop building. And even if you sell that company, most likely what people do is they start a new company and they build something new.
Something bigger and better, and you start a franchise. Absolutely.
Yes.
People don't really. I used to tell my husband, if we're dream of being millionaires, if the CEO only makes 300,000 or 400,000 a year, I mean, are we really, gonna make
Huh?
work? We just an employee number. And I'm like, I see employees gone and they die and then they replace them the next day, and you cry one day and they didn't went on about their business. You get paid by the hour, and I'm like, I like to get paid by my hustle. That's just what
Mm,
I've always done. Yeah, that's what I've
mm,
always
that's
done.
good.
It feels
That's
good.
good.
Yep,
Yeah.
it feels good. One thing, we do have to get up early, but I always tell my husband, I'd rather go to bed when I'm tired of being awoke and wake up when I'm tired of being asleep. But
Yes.
we can do that.
Yes.
No alarm.
Yes.
We don't even have alarm clocks.
Yes. I love that. I love that. Because I say time is abstract. So, like, a lot of people ask me what time I go to bed, and I'd be like, I don't know, whenever I fall asleep, or, you
Entrepreneurs
know,
don't sleep.
yeah.
I have to take a sleeping aid because I won't go to sleep. I'm always on my paper, like, what am I gonna do this week? Or do I want to do a radio commercial? What am I going to do to continue to grow my business? Like, I've done this. Now, what can I do this week? And so I'm always making posts or making connections or doing something. Yep. And that's what
Mm.
I like to
Have
do.
you ever, because you have your notepad with you, and you do that every day. Have
Day.
you ever kept the notes and look back and just watch,
Keep them on
like,
my phone.
you keep them on your, have you ever gone back to see how many things you have just checked off?
Accomplished. Yeah, I do it every day.
Mm.
Every day.
What does it feel like coming from the background, the childhood you've come from, and being where you are right now, being able to help so many people in the way and in the capacity that you do?
Feels good.
Mm.
It feels good. Sometimes it's not something that you plan. It's just something that God plans for you. Like, you just never know. You can impact somebody's life by just sitting down talking to them. Or it's just a blessing.
Mm.
I don't have enough words. It just feels good. It feels really, really good.
Mm.
I
I
wish I had
love it.
enough to do more, you know,
Yeah.
But yeah, the hardest thing for me is turning down business with family and friends, because sometimes they'll ask, like I said, for an apartment, and we've done it in the past, and be like, this is not working out, So yeah, nah,
Mm. Yeah.
nah, no. Mm.
With your children, do you think that they will become a part of the family business? Do you think that they'll help you in your business or anything like that?
So I have a hair salon. I bought a hair salon called T's Hair Heaven. And I bought it because my daughter came to me, my middle daughter. She's like me. She's like this little free spirit that just does whatever. And she's like, Mom, I want to do lashes. And I'm like, okay, are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I was like, well, I didn't want her to work for anybody. I'm like, okay, let's just buy a shop and then you can do the lashes and you can manage the salon for me. You know what I mean? And that's been working out. Um, my other two daughters in the medical field.
Mm,
My third daughter, Miani, she was born at 5 months of preemie. And growing up, she always wanted to be a prenatal nurse. So that's what she is now.
wow.
Yeah, my other daughter is a biochemist and she's working on her master's now. So two graduated from college, medical college, and one little free spirit.
Yeah.
And then I have my two stepsons. Now my two stepsons they work with my husband, so they're picking it up. The girls, I'm like, which one of y'all gonna get your real estate license? But I didn't get my license until later, till later. Like I started late, but
Mm,
I'm glad I started. I'm just like, if my mom had a company, I would be there. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with y'all. I didn't have my here. They just don't. I think this generation they're not really phased by things. They just have a sense of entitlement,
mm,
like we already know. And I'm like,
mhm.
yeah, but you have to maintain it. If not, you'll lose it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not going to maintain itself.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Mm.
My parents, I didn't learn anything. I taught myself how to cook. I'm not dogging my parents out, but mm-mm.
Well,
It's
I've got to
okay.
tell you though, you have
It's okay.
truly, truly defied all the odds that were against you. And to sit with you and have this conversation and to just hear of your journey, it's an honor. And it's just beautiful, and I admire your tenacity and your drive, and just you have such a soft spirit. You have a very sweet, calming spirit, and it's beautiful. It's
That's the
absolutely
Nicole.
beautiful.
That's the
That's
Nicole.
Nicole.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's my last name. I told you I had 5 names. I'm like, what
Yeah.
are all these names on my birth? I hate my birth certificate. I'm like, what is going on? Yeah.
Well,
Goodness.
I have to. I want to give you your flowers. You have
You.
built something beautiful from a foundation that was definitely, it was just against you, and you found a way and you did it, and you've raised beautiful children. You are building a beautiful empire. You have a great marriage, and that is just absolutely, I love that. I absolutely love that. So I
Yeah.
know there are people that are listening, and some women that are like, I would love to just connect with you and learn more about your journey. So tell me, where can people find you?
On Instagram, I have 4 Instagram pages. On Instagram, they can find me at ArLancia Williams _mogul.
Mm.
My next page is Flip Queen Reality Show, which I didn't speak of today. I wrote a reality show. And I have Platinum Trust Realty on Instagram. And also, I have my own podcast. It's called Let's Talk Real Estate with ArLancia. And that page is Podcast with ArLancia. And of course, my company website is www.platttrustrealty.com.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for just sharing your journey and your wisdom and your love. It oozes through this conversation. And for all who are listening, consider this conversation a reminder that it does not matter what you have gone through. You can still become whoever you desire to become, that and more. As long as you are connected to God and you stay focused and you put those blinders on, like Arlencia was talking about, you can do it. Okay. And thank you all so much for joining. And until next time, remember that you're worthy, and we'll talk to you later. All right.
Bye.
Bye.